What's the most monstrous-looking prehistoric animal you've ever seen? Is it a gigantic dinosaur, a massive sea creature like the Mosasaurus, or perhaps someone from the cat family? Well, get ready to add another name to your list of scariest prehistoric animals. 'Cause if the hell pigs aren't already on there, you just don't know enough about them. That, or you just haven't seen one up close. And man, you better thank God for that. But now it's time to meet the hell pigs. From their strange and terrifying biological makeup to their violent lives, this video will show you a side of pigs that you haven't seen yet. The hell pigs are easily one of Mother Nature's baddest and nastiest works. And they don't just come in one species, it's a whole gang of different species under the family Entelodontidae. But despite the name, they're not exactly pigs. Real pigs belong to a different family called Suidae. Hell pigs just look kinda piggy. As a matter of fact, some recent research even suggests they might have been more like hippos and whales than pigs. How bizarre! These Entelodonts lived on Earth somewhere between 38 million to 19 million years ago. And here's what they looked like. If we're being polite, hell pigs weren't the most friendly-looking creatures. One of the main things about them was their big skull with a long face. The Daedon species had skulls about 35 inches long, which is over half the length of an average man. They also had bony bumps on their lower jaws and some really big teeth in their mouths, kinda like what you see in today's meat eaters. Some of these guys were seriously massive. Daedon, for instance, was thought to weigh a staggering 900 kilograms, 1,984 pounds. That's as hefty as some of the biggest brown bears, which suddenly seem a lot more cuddly when put next to an entelodont. Some of these dudes were a bit smaller, which might have made them a tad less nightmare-inducing. But even the smallest hell pigs still tipped the scales at around 150 kilograms, 331 pounds, so we wouldn't exactly call them lightweight. They were definitely on the heavy side, as they're often compared to oversized warthogs or wild boars. Their bodies followed the typical build of hooved animals, with short, sturdy legs built for endurance rather than speed. They had robust shoulders to support their massive heads, which were armed with powerful jaws filled with large molars, canines, and incisors. Their feet had cloven hooves, similar to those of pigs, adding to their tank-like appearance. This made them pretty intimidating, capable of using their weight to scare off smaller predators or even ramming small prey to keep them from getting away. But what really makes entelodonts stand out were their flanges and bony lumps on their faces. Early depictions showed them as lipless creatures with protruding flanges on the sides of their faces. Nowadays, reconstructions show them with full lips and wet noses, with the flanges supporting powerful jaw muscles. This gives them a more mammalian look, with full cheeks and lips. But standing over 1.8 meters tall and more than 2.4 meters in length, they still look pretty darn monstrous. These Terminator pigs had sturdy barrel-shaped bodies, featuring a prominent hump along their spine. This hump, probably made of fat like that seen in modern bison, might have acted as both an energy store and insulation during tough environmental times. But were these guys really as hellish as their name suggests? Oh yeah. Researchers have found what they call meat caches in Wyoming, which they think were made by hell pigs. They figured this out by matching up the bite marks with the measurements of their jaws. It seems these creatures had a gruesome dining style. They'd chop off the heads of their prey, then dig into the meaty back parts. After that, they'd stash away the leftover chest parts in these caches for a later snack. So not only were these hell pigs big and scary, but they were also pretty crafty, judging by their dining habits. We don't know about you, but we are definitely relieved there's no chance of bumping into one of these meat-eating, bone-crunching beasts while out on a hike. Now, those prehistoric times weren't short of terrifying creatures roaming around the floodplains of Nebraska or the steppes of Mongolia. Alongside entelodonts, you had nimravid saber-tooths and the infamous bear dogs, amphicyonids, prowling around as well. These top predators really set the tone for the food chains and the whole ecosystem back then. While entelodonts did hunt animals for food, recent research tells us that's not all they did. These pigs weren't just fierce meat eaters. While earlier studies proposed that Entelodonts were opportunistic hunters of big plant eaters with teeth built for crunching bones like hyenas, new findings published this year challenge that idea. The study checked out the tiny wear marks on the teeth of Entelodon magnus, a species mainly existing in Europe. Turns out, those marks hinted at a diet that wasn't too picky. Kinda like wild boars, they probably ate roots and fruits, and maybe even scavenged for meat. But don't think they were all peace and love. Looking into Entelodon skulls showed scars from bites that had healed up, probably from scuffles with other Entelodonts. They were pretty feisty and territorial animals who used their tusks and massive size to scare off or even hurt their rivals, making sure to guard their turf. When it came to clashes between Entelodonts, it was likely all about showing who's boss. Each one would use their tusks and bony flanges to establish their spot in the pecking order. They probably also fought to secure access to food and mating opportunities. Even though Entelodonts had the skills to hunt, their body setup and special features tell us they were mostly into scavenging. With their sharp sense of smell and wide-ranging eyesight, they could spot carcasses from far away. Their hefty size and muscle power probably came in handy for scaring off smaller predators and snagging themselves a meal. But how did these guys get around? Entelodonts had strong legs and hooves, good for getting around different places. They weren't built for super fast running, but their sturdy limbs helped them support their big bodies, so they could move around to find food or escape from enemies. These guys were adaptable eaters and scavengers, which means they could munch on all kinds of stuff. This flexible diet probably helped them thrive in their habitats during the Eocene and Oligocene epochs, making them a successful bunch of ancient mammals. Speaking of ancient mammals, let's trace these pigs' evolutionary journey and see where they really came from. About 38 million years back, Entelodonts kicked off their journey during the Eocene epoch. This marks the start of their evolutionary story, something researchers have been tracing since then. They belong to the extinct family Entelodontidae and the order Artiodactyla, which also includes modern pigs, peccaries, hippos, camels, and deer. People have different ideas about where Entelodonts fit in the mammal family tree. Everyone agrees they're in the same group as whales and hoofed mammals like camels and hippos, but there's a debate about exactly where they belong in that group. Some scientists used to think pigs and peccaries were their closest relatives, but a study in 2009 suggested they're actually more like hippos, whales, and a carnivore called Andrewsarchus. Now, while Entelodonts aren't directly ancestors of today's pigs, they do share a common ancestry and some similarities in appearance. Their story begins in Asia, where they first popped up, and from there, their fossils spread across Europe and North America. Over time, these critters changed, getting bigger and finding their place in different environments. Fossils dug up in various places and periods show a bunch of different species and groups, like Archaeotherium, Brachyhyops, Daedon, and Entelodon, giving us a glimpse into the diversity of the Entelodon family. Compared to their later cousins, the early Entelodonts were pretty small, but as time went on and they evolved, they got bigger. They developed some useful features along the way, like strong jaws, long curved tusks, and these bony bits on their cheeks. These adaptations made Entelodonts awesome omnivores, munching on plants, bugs, and even dead animals. Throughout the Eocene and Oligocene epochs, Entelodonts spread out and thrived in all kinds of places, from forests to plains. But sadly, they bit the dust around 16 million years ago during the late Oligocene. What exactly wiped them out is still a mystery, but we have some clues. First off, climate change probably played a big part. Back then, the Earth was cooling down and things were getting drier. Forests started shrinking and grasslands were spreading. This might have meant less food and water for hell pigs, making life pretty tough for them. On top of that, ecosystems were shifting. With the climate changing, the places where hell pigs lived were also changing. More grasslands meant different plants and animals around. Maybe not the stuff hell pigs were used to munching on. Plus, more competition for resources like food and water probably didn't help their chances of survival. Another reason hell pigs might have bitten the dust is because of increased competition. New predators like hyenodon and other creodonts were evolving. These guys were pros at hunting and scavenging. maybe even better than hell pigs. So now, these pigs had to fight harder just to get a bite to eat. Plus, as ecosystems changed, hell pigs might have struggled to keep up. They were big dudes with a taste for everything, but maybe that wasn't working out so well anymore. Smaller predators that were better at hunting for specific types of food could have had the upper hand, leaving the hell pigs with less to munch on. So, when you put it all together, it seems like a bunch of stuff teamed up against hell pigs, making life really tough for them. Climate change, ecosystem shifting, more competition, and their own size and eating habits probably all played a part. As conditions got worse, it could have been harder for hell pig populations to hang on. With fewer of them around, their genetic diversity may have taken a hit, making it even trickier for them to adapt to the changing world. While we can't say for sure what exactly pushed hell pigs over the edge, it's likely that all these factors working together contributed to their extinction in the end. To sum it up, Entelodonts, or the hell pigs, were fascinating creatures that roamed the Earth around 38 to 16 million years ago. They were part of the Artiodactyla order, like today's even-toed ungulates, but they weren't direct ancestors of any living animals. These creatures had a pretty unique bunch of physical traits, including their large size, elongated heads, formidable jaws, curved tusks, and strange bony flanges on their cheeks. Such adaptations enabled them to thrive as omnivorous scavengers, feasting on a wide variety of food sources and occupying various ecological niches. Their behaviors and dietary preferences were well suited to the environments of their time. However, a combination of factors, including climate change, shifting ecosystems, and heightened competition with other predators, eventually led to their extinction during the late Oligocene epoch. Studying these terrifying beasts helps us understand how life on Earth has changed over time and how animals adapt to their surroundings. Now, before we sign off, here's a question for you. Considering the challenges these hell pigs faced, what modern animal do you think they would resemble most in terms of behavior and survival tactics? Lions or hyenas? Drop your thoughts in the comments below. And if you enjoy learning about ancient creatures, make sure to hit that subscribe button and stay tuned for more cool stuff about the past.